Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
Questions, Coffee, and Cars 238. How do you get questions in?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday I put a post out asking for questions. Once we gather them, the post is deleted and we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Long-term viewer. Thank you. Bought a Stelvio 2022 based on your reviews. I'm thinking about changing now. Family of 3 would like to spend under 75,000 Canadian. Overwhelmed with the options, considering a Macan S used, BMW X5 used, don't love the X3, or Mercedes-Benz GLC plug-in hybrid. Test drove the Macan and loved it, but found the back seat to be small like the Stelvio. Loved how the Stelvio drives, but post-sale service is a mixed bag in Winnipeg. Also in winter, the car squeaks, plus depreciation is crazy.
Yeah, that's why you want at least one of those. Yeah, the Macan, actually the Stelvio and the Macan are very similar. Like you could even say from the back, the Stelvio looks a little bit like a Macan. So yeah, that size isn't going to work for you, which is too bad because that would be my choice.
Yeah, and GV70, the rear seat as well, is quite small, maybe slightly bigger than the Macan. So that one would be out for you. I think that the X5 is a great option, used.
Yeah, I love the X5. That inline 6-cylinder is world class, and if you can get a good used CPO car, it's coming off lease 2 or 3 years. But the Mercedes has only been in market now for 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be many coming back on lease yet, but I tell you what, it's not a bad deal new. It's 63 grand in Canada.
Yeah, but you have to add some stuff to it.
You don't. I mean, you could just get a base model, but yeah, if you want to get some nicer things on it, it's going to be a package or two. But yeah, it's not a bad deal, that one.
And great range, 87 kilometers of range, which may work nicely for you. Obviously, if you're going to spend the money to buy the GLC plug-in hybrid, plug it in. Make sure you plug it in, but you can use the level 1 outlet to do that.
What are the cars again? Read them quickly.
Macan.
Yeah, that one's out.
Yeah, and then the X5 used.
X5.
And then the GLC new.
Okay. Oh, he did say new.
Yeah, he said new for the
GLC.
Because it does have a great starting price.
Okay. Yeah, I'm back to GLC, I think.
We really liked it. It's definitely tuned for comfort and it handles incredibly well. So if you like it, I think that's the one I would get as well. Would you get a 2025 Mazda CX-5 Signature Turbo or wait for the new 2026 CX-5? Asking as you two always suggest to wait a year or two before purchasing so manufacturers can work out any kinks on new models. Yes, we do say that.
Well, the good news is for people looking for reliability around the engine is the 2.5-liter non-turbo from the regular CX-5, and the transmission is being carried forward into this new product. All the new electronics is all new, so that could be an issue.
Now, if you are interested in the turbocharged with more power for 2025, that would be the one to buy for sure. What I suggest you do is buy that 2025 turbo, enjoy it, maybe lease it, and then switch to the 2026 model after your lease is up.
You could do a short-term lease, 2 years.
Yeah, and see how the 2026 model is. Look, this is a whole new infotainment system for Mazda. So I would definitely be leery of it. Some people don't care, and they're like, okay, if I have problems, I'm just going to deal with it and take it to the dealership. Depends on the kind of person you are.
Okay, historically, over the last couple of generations of Mazda products, when they bring out new technology, the quality scores are not great, but they do course correct and they pivot and produce very good quality and reliable products like the Sky Active that came in the last generation CX-5 and the Mazda 3 and so on. When it first arrived, that whole new platform over 10 years ago, there were some issues, but as the years went on, it got a lot better. Then we see the all new CX-90 and CX-70. A lot of issues around the transmission and drivability. They are course correcting and it is getting better. I would look at the pattern. That's all I'm saying.
And you have to course correct, don't you? People aren't going to put up with that. So once again, I go back to saying some people want the new and the latest, and they're happy to deal with the gremlins, and some people are not.
Do you know who's going to be happy? Are people who are going to take it? People who are on lease now and the lease is coming up, they'll just roll into the new one.
For sure.
Those are going to be the early adopters.
Any word on the Lexus RX 2027 refresh? I can't tell you how many times we get asked this question about the RX and the NX. Now, sure, the RX will possibly get some sort of a refresh in 2027, maybe 2028.
In 27 as an 8, probably.
But no, Lexus doesn't talk to us about future products. So they wouldn't say to us, oh yeah, the RX is getting a refresh for the 2028 model year, and this is what we're working on. We don't get that info.
The thing is, the car's only been in market for 2 years. It only came out, like the NX has been out, I think, a year before. It was 22.
22.
And then 23 RX came. Or as a 24, I can't remember what model year it was.
Neither.
But it's only been in market for a couple of years. So they're going to let that ride for a while. Why would they? Here's the thing is, when you do a facelift on a car and you invest, it's like hundreds of millions of dollars. And they have to look, how long is it going to take to recoup that investment? That's the way they work it out. So they're going to ride it. They're selling like crazy. They're going to let it ride.
That's it. Lexus tells us that the RX and the NX are their #1 sellers. They have no problem selling these. So I can't imagine that they would be in a rush to refresh it. I know EVs are pricey and not as popular right now, but any thoughts of reviewing a Lucid? Since it's been a few years, I'd be more interested in one of those than a Tesla. You know what? The problem with Lucid is that it's so expensive. I don't know. I don't know if our audience wants to have something that is that expensive. Like, we're not going to review a Tesla Cybertruck.
I'm going to give you the blunt answer. You ready? We're in the eyeball business. We try to find cars that are going to get views. No one's going to watch that.
No.
So are we going to pass over that week a car that's going to get views for that? A brand that's on the bubble? I don't think so.
No.
I've got a Karma Fisker I could sell you. Fisker, what is it? No, Fisker Karma?
Fisker Ocean.
Fisker Ocean I could sell you.
So we did the Model Y and we'll do the Model 3. These are two popular choices. To do a Model S, no. And to do a Cybertruck, no. So I just don't think that Lucid is really one brand at that price point that people are looking for. You have to have the budget for it and a lot of money. I'm looking to buy a new car. Toyota used to offer a physical key ignition system for their base models, L or LE, but they stopped offering even their base models, Camry and RAV4. Why do most manufacturers are only using key fobs, push button ignition system, which are more vulnerable to theft via CAN bus hack or relay attacks? Love your show. Thank you.
Because what they can do is they can amortize that system once again over hundreds of thousands of units. So if you're going to have two different systems for the same car, one that's a manual key lock cylinder and one that's an automatic one, why do you think we've gone headlong into everything's in a screen? I got a news flash, because when the big screens started coming out, they used to charge a premium to get the big screen. Oh, you got to pay more for that. Screens are cheap. Putting everything in a screen is cheap. And having that across all trims is cheap. Same thing for the door and the push button. If they can just spread the cost over all the cars, that's what they do.
I also think for convenience purposes, people like push button start and they like a fob. I get your point, especially with Toyota and Lexus models with theft, that you think a keyed ignition would be better. Possibly, yes, vehicles are stolen through the fob, but you can buy these pouches, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, signal blocking pouches that you can keep your fob in when you're in the house to help with that. But you have to also remember that there are brands that are not getting stolen, like people aren't interested in stealing a Mazda, for example. So why not have push button start for that one? I know that you're talking about this specific brand and I get your point, but the convenience of push button start. Remember the days when you had a key and you left your key in the car?
Yeah.
And then you had to get somebody in to
Jimmy the door and
get your key.
The guy's name was Jimmy. You could only get a guy named Jimmy that ran the tow truck. Can you? Oh, we got someone's locked out of their car. All right, send Jimmy over.
I'm not bothered.
He would Jimmy
it. I'm not bothered by push button start. In fact, I love it. I just keep my key in my purse and I walk to my car and I hit the handle and there you go, I'm in.
I got a news flash for you. The thieves also like the higher trim cars. So they're not looking for your LE Camry. They're just not. They're looking for the XSE.
They want to know what's going to sell overseas, and those are the vehicles that they're targeting. What are the few things car owners need to do when the snow season is over? Yes, a bit too early to ask. I know. No, never too early to ask. Hey, I'm ready for spring. I'm ready, although today we have a pretty good day. I think the big one really is changing out your tires. But, you know, there's other things like checking your fluids. I would think that you would do that throughout the winter anyway. What about your turn signals and your brake lights? Make sure everything is functioning properly.
I think the main thing you're probably leaning into is getting rid of all the salt off the car. So if you can get inside, the thing is you need a few main ingredients for rust, and that is moisture. Salt is the main thing that accelerates rust, and then often the third element is dirt. So when you get creases and cavities around the wheel wells, the lower part of the trunk, the lower part of the door, where you get moisture, salt, and dirt, and that sits there for a long period of time, then that's where rust can really accelerate. So the best idea is to go around all the inside of your wheel wells, clean them all out, the lower part of the trunk, the doors, all that kind of stuff. Now often there's a wheel well liner, a plastic liner on the inside of the wheels, but you can often just push it and you can spray in there with your hose. If you can actually take it out, there's usually just a few screws. You really clean it out. That's going to make sure that the rust can't get in there.
We need to buy a new car as our Hyundai Tucson Hybrid 2024 was in an accident and a write-off, unfortunately. We have the 2026 Hybrid Palisade already. What would you recommend for a family of 5 with 3 hockey players for a mid-size replacement? Looking at another Hyundai Hybrid Tucson, plug-in Tucson, or going VW, or even something else. Need to buy as early as next week. We drive a lot and wonder if we continue the hybrid route. Sounds like you like the hybrid route.
And also you're in the Hyundai family. They'd be quite happy to have you back, I would think, at the dealership. You know, if you're reading a car by next week, it's going to be availability.
It's going to be availability. And from what I hear, there are CRV hybrids if you're interested in a hybrid.
That's not for a hockey family of 3.
No.
That's not going to cut it.
But I would say
get another Palisade. That's the answer. His and hers Palisades.
Or what about the Santa Fe hybrid? That would be good for you. So you'll have to see what's available, but those ones are great. And if Hyundai's been good to you, why not stick with them?
Yeah, it's going to come down to what's available. And I would, if you do a lot of driving, I understand you're going to hockey tournaments and all that kind of stuff, I get it, then I would look for another hybrid.
I love the show. Thank you. I got a Lexus UX based on Andrea's recommendation, and I absolutely love it. Boo to Zach. It doesn't have a spare tire, and my winter tires aren't run flats. Do you think those repair kits actually work? I don't want to test it out at minus 40 Celsius on the side of the road. I want someone to actually demonstrate using those things because I think it's a sham. I have to say, Zach, with a Mustang, used it. So Zach, go for it.
So I was on a Mustang GT launch in the Malibu area, and absolutely spectacular carving canyon roads. But there's a lot of this loose stone that can fall down on the road. I come around the corner. I may be driving quickly, Andrea.
What a surprise.
With my 460 horsepower Mustang GT, and I hear this, dum-dum, and I'm like, oh crap. Sure enough, tire pressure light comes on, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's no cell service, and I decide to go and have a look in the trunk. I know how to change a tire, no problem. Well, there's no tires, Zach. There's a tire repair kit. So what do? I get out the tire repair kit, and I stick it on the tire, and I start putting the foam in there, and it just goes everywhere. Might have been a little operator error. No, I kind of followed what they said.
You're pretty good at that stuff.
It oozed out, and it was just a hot mess. Plus, it was sticky, and I had nothing to wipe my hands. And so the only thing I could think of was I rolled up my pant and I wiped it on my sock to get the sticky off. And then I thought, well, I'm screwed. I'm in the middle of nowhere. And the press people are like, wonder where he is. Only times this ever happens is on Ford events. So I start walking up the highway, and I walk and I walk and I walk, and then bing, I get one bar. And then I call Christine from Ford, and then the cavalry arrived, and they came and they swept me away, and they took anyway, so I'm no fan either.
So that's Zach's experience. Chime in if you've used a tire repair kit and how it all went for you.
I just want to say it was like 70 degrees and sunny. It wasn't minus 40.
Yeah. So I don't think it would all
I don't like
be
it.
that
By the way, I don't like the shot about my thoughts on the UX. You're proving my point.
No,
If you
it's
had
not
got a
proving your
RAV4
point.
hybrid, that comes with a spare tire. Just saying. And I'm not a big fan of the space in the UX.
No, he doesn't like the rear seat legroom. But if you're a single person or just a couple, I actually really like the UX as well. I think there's some value there. Do you believe Mitsubishi will refresh the RVR model anytime in the future? What's your take on having it? 2.4 liter engine variant as a budget crossover vehicle in today's time being reliable, cheapest in the market compared to the peers. It's actually a really great product. I think it's cute as a button as well. And Mitsubishi plans on keeping it.
Yeah, we were at a Christmas luncheon with the president of Mitsubishi Canada and their PR people. We had a great meal, and we asked this question, what's going on with RVR? And there are rumblings that there is going to be a replacement for it. But the RVR, you know that whole subcompact crossover thing that we have now with Corolla Cross and HRV and all that? They started that. It's still one of the smallest. I'm with you, though. Our good friend in Quebec, Antoine Gilbert, he talks about this all the time. He says you want to have all-wheel drive, cheap to buy, cheap to run, and has proven reliability. And people who own these love them because they're easy to work on if you do any of your own maintenance. It's a hell of a deal.
So a redesign, we don't know. Mitsubishi didn't say, but they said we are keeping the RVR. So I assume that they're going to put a little bit into this vehicle so that it's updated because it has gotten old.
I'm not sure, because it's been a long time since I've driven an RVR. It was available with 2 engines, so the 2.4 is the one you wanted. So yeah, I think as a second runaround car, an excellent choice. And for those who don't know, the RVR is called the Outlander Sport in the US.
That's right.
Cheap as chips. If you're looking for a good little second runaround car, cheap as chips.
Are you going to have the opportunity to drive the new Jeep Cherokee and the Grand Cherokee with the new powertrain? I'm interested in your thoughts on these new products with Stellantis quality challenges. Well, we have asked about the Cherokee because I think our audience may be interested in that vehicle. But there is going to be a drive event. Whether we get invited on it, we just don't know.
We have asked, and I'm intrigued by this because, you know, on occasion, Stellantis can do some good things.
Yeah.
And this product is one of the biggest compact utilities, and it's a hybrid. I think it looks good, and this is exactly what Stellantis needs to get back in the game. So I hope it is good for their sake.
So we wait and see with Stellantis products. A lot of it has to do with drive events, and then whether they bring these vehicles into the press fleet. I would assume that they would bring the Cherokee and the Grand Cherokee, but we may not get to them first. Acura Integra Type S or Toyota GR86?
3, 2, 1.
Integra.
Acura. That's easy.
Easy peasy.
That's not even close. One is a rear driver. One is a front driver. One is cheap and cheerful on the inside, and the Integra is definitely nicer.
And so much smaller. The GR86 is so much smaller than the Integra. The Integra, you could easily put your family in the rear seat. It's so big. And the Type S is just a ton of fun, and it's a manual.
And there it is, Andrea. I feel so much better now that we decided that we're both on the Acura page.
We are.
How do you
We
get
agree.
questions in on this one?
Follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea every Sunday. I put a post out asking for questions. Once we gather them, the post is deleted and we start the show. Thanks for all your questions and thanks for watching.
See you next time.